Okay. My name's Mary Grebner, and I'm part of the Olympia Indivisible Endorsement Research Team. And you are Gilbert Lamont.
That is
Um,
me.
Correct me if I pronounce things wrong or get things messed up. And you are a candidate for District 5 position on the Olympia School Board. So
Correct.
I would like you to talk for a few minutes and tell me whatever you want to tell me. You can tell me your favorite color. You can tell me why you wanted to be a candidate for school board. I don't, whatever you want to talk about for a few minutes.
Okay. Well, I did prepare a little remarks for this because I am not really a politician. I'm just trying to figure this out. So it might be a little reedy at first, but I'll ease into it. Well, my name is Gilbert Lamont. I'm a father of two children just starting their journey in Olympia School District. I'm honored to be running for Olympia School District Board District 5. Thank you for being here and taking the time to give me questions and or ask me questions so that I can clarify my positions. I'm running because I want my children to be part of a community, a school community that's inclusive, where my children know they belong, feel safe, and have opportunities to grow and become their best selves. I believe every child deserves to feel seen, supported, and empowered in their educational journey. For me, inclusion is not just an educational approach, it is a moral commitment. A commitment to ensuring that every student, no matter their background or ability, knows they belong and they're given the opportunity to thrive. Students with special needs flourish when they're taught in least restrictive environments, side by side with their peers. Inclusion doesn't just benefit those students, it strengthens the entire classroom. It builds empathy, fosters community, and drives both academic and social growth. But real inclusion means looking deeper. It means addressing the systemic inequities that have long affected students from historically marginalized communities. It means challenging policies and practices that create barriers and replace them with those that empower and uplift. Every child deserves access to high quality education, culturally responsive teaching, and a school culture that not only accepts diversity but celebrates it. If elected, I will listen, learn, and lead with equity in the forefront. Together, we can build a school system that every student belongs, every family feels heard, and every educator is empowered. That was probably not even close to 5 minutes, was it?
I don't, well, it was like 3 minutes. It was
That was,
pretty good. You'll get better as you do this. I saw that you have a campaign kickoff event like later this month.
I do, yes, on the 28th.
Uh, so I noticed that you're married to a teacher. How
That is
much
correct.
or how little has that impacted your view? I mean, I understand like as your kids start school, you learn a little bit more about what's going on that you probably didn't have any idea before. But also having your wife be an educator, how have these things sort of grown your knowledge of school board or school related issues?
I remember when she first started, she started as a kindergarten teacher, and I was in the military at the time, and I was helping her set up the classroom, and it was completely new for me going into the classroom with all these tiny kids years before we had children. And it was an eye-opening experience. And as she's grown in her career as an educator, I've got to be by her side and passively learning about all the things she's doing. We were having a conversation a couple months ago, and I was thinking about running. I was talking about acronyms for education, and she was like, "Oh, there's not that many acronyms." And then she listed off like 30, and I was like, "Yeah, exactly. I only knew about a third of those at most." And she's like, "Oh, I guess there are." So, especially in the last couple months, I have been picking her brain regularly, and still feeling like I'm overwhelmed by the amount of knowledge that she has that I don't, that I'm rapidly trying to learn.
I noted that when you filled out your questionnaire, you talked a fair amount. You talked a lot about inclusivity and equity and making kids feel safe and secure in their environment. But you also talked about the need to focus, especially like budget, because budget is a problem. It's going to be a problem for everybody. It's going to only get worse, I think. And you talked about making sure that budget was for the kids, like, right? It was
Mhm.
was, the student facing resources, the teachers, the materials that they use, and even expanded it out to like mental health counselors and all of that. And can you talk a little bit more about what you're thinking might be there that could be cut away when you're going to look at this budget? Like, how are you gonna face? I know you're a data guy. So like, how are you gonna face that whole, like, what's your entry point into that budget, considering the priorities that you have?
I mean, we'd get first getting into the data. That's the difficult part I've had with this point is I've tuned into every school board meeting, but it's only so much that I can personally see from sitting here and how to what's available, what levers they can move at that point. But sorry, I am stumbling all over myself on this one already.
Don't worry, you're fine.
But yeah, it's going to be that is definitely the biggest issue that I see for the school board, and it's going to lean on, I would lean on to listening more and connected with the counterparts in the district so I can get that data and start going through it to see where the most effective place to be. Because we're going to have to make cuts if we're taking in less and wanting to maintain services, it's going to be very hard to figure out what is the most effective point or most effective thing to target. And that's very much a non-answer. But
Well, I think none of the other candidates also really know, nobody really knows what's going on with the budget picture because there's uncertainty on the federal side. And the governor signed a bill to give a little more flexibility on the state
mhm,
side. But the article in the Jolts a few days ago talked about Olympia had been using a $2 million, to kind of make this year's budget less bad out of their fund balance. And then they
mhm.
found out that they're overshot by another 600,000 on that. So now they're 2.6 million, sort of um, expenditures over revenue. So I think, anybody is going to walk into this situation and think, how do I even address it? And like when you're looking at the data, like do you think about sharing that with like the community or just kind of like diving into it? Like, because a lot of your questionnaire had a lot of stuff about transparent and open
Mhm.
communication with the community. And I try navigating that website. I don't go to the board meetings, but I try navigating that website looking for stuff. And I'm like, so that seems exciting that you have that focus.
It'll be something to address because, yeah, to be honest, I attend every board meeting online through the Zoom, and even I sometimes have trouble finding the right Zoom link. And I'm like, but I do this every other week, sometimes every week, and it's definitely something I would look at if I was elected to the board. And that, yes, transparency is the key. I think that's one of the biggest missteps the board had both last year and maybe a little bit this year with the budget is open communication with the community. I feel like the community was blindsided with even the idea of school closures last year. And that leaves a lot of room for just more community engagement, community interaction. Like lately, since I've declared to run, I've been trying to talk with everyone around town that I can. I've been getting coffee sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, and probably contributing to why I'm so jittery right now too. I'm fairly caffeinated, but I'm just trying to learn from everyone I can because my school experience knowledge is through my wife and through my 2 small children that are just in elementary school. So I'm trying to expand that bubble and learn from everyone I can because there's a lot of people in Olympia with a lot of diverse experiences, and I need to know it all, or at least try to.
Um, so when I go to your campaign website and I see the four items, the four bullet items
Mhm,
that you have on there, the first one is impact over intent. And I believe I understand what that means. And in that, you talk about measuring success. And I'm wondering how you measure success. Like how outside of test scores are one way to measure success, but are there other measures that you have in mind, or maybe like what's your definition of success?
I mean, I believe that varies depending on what we're trying to measure, what we call success. I know they have lots of surveys, and I would like to look at some of the data on how they collect those and maybe expanding their survey systems to collect more data on what we're trying to measure to view success. But my key with that point is that it's not about just making policies if we're not following back up and making sure that they're having the impact we intend. So it wasn't directed at anyone specifically, but I would definitely want to relook at how they're doing their surveys and what we're collecting and what we're trying to measure. And that
Okay.
would be the forefront of any change or policy we want to do is being able to make sure that it is as being effective as we want it to be and as we planned on it being.
And your second bullet item is collaboration. And so I'm curious whether you see opportunities for collaboration with either traditional sort of entities like the city or other school districts, or whether you see opportunities for collaboration with maybe sort of less traditional, like employers or, what do you have in mind for collaboration, if anything specific? And it's totally fine if you don't have anything specific in mind yet, because I know you're still learning and getting up to speed.
I've been meeting with city councilors and other people at the city to pick their brains on things, and everyone has ideas as well. I'm open to collaborate with anyone else who has the children's best interest at heart. I mean, we're all part of this community here. We're all trying to do what's best for the children. I'm willing to talk with anyone and listen, and we'll see where that goes.
Do you think you focus on collaboration as a way of maybe it can save money and create efficiencies, or more as just a expansion of learning opportunities, or getting different perspectives in, or is it kind of half and half
I
equal?
mean, both for sure. And another way to get more community engagement in as well, to get more voices to be heard as that are part of this district, that are part of the city.
As a parent with young kids yourself, and like you have a job and you have your kids and life is pretty busy, like how do you drag people into the conversation when they have such tiny little amounts of time?
I mean, it's all about meeting them where they are and going out to talk to people. We've been talking to a lot of family groups on Facebook that we're parts of and trying to reach out to people and talk to them there. I mean, I know time is precious for everyone, but these issues are also very important for everyone. So it's trying to just engage people where they are and talk to them how they can. We've had long Facebook message chains with parents that we don't really know that often. We've met people in the playground that we talked to that we didn't know beforehand, and it's about getting myself out there and engaging with them any way that they're available.
So you're an extrovert, and this is good for you, or
Oh, I'm
another
learning
growth
through this that
experience?
I'm not an introvert, but I don't think I'm that much of an extrovert either. So it's been a learning experience with pushing the limits of how far I've gotten out there. And I mean, honestly, post-pandemic, my job went remote at the pandemic. So the last 5 years or so has been me and my wife and the kids and me working on the internet. So it's been
Ah.
I'm stepping back into the talking people regularly sphere. So that's nice. I miss it, but I'm definitely realizing how little I had been doing it the last couple of years.
Interesting. Okay, and then you've already talked a fair amount about inclusion. You can say more things about that if you want to. That was your third bullet item on the campaign website, and you mentioned it a lot in your questionnaire. What do you have? Can you flesh out empower educators a little bit more for me in times when, you know, um, a lot of parents have a lot of different opinions perhaps about what educators should be teaching or how they should be teaching it. Like, I'm sure you got some personal experience with
I
that.
mean, they're the educators, they're the experts in this. Our role on a school board or even as parents is to help back them up. It's not to sit over their shoulder and Saturday afternoon quarterback everything they do. I'm not an expert in education. My background is in economics. I support them in doing what they say they need to do as the best. I mean, we also have metrics to measure it, and you have open conversation, but I come at it from a standpoint that they're the experts and we should be backing them up, not second guessing them at every turn, saying, "Oh, but I Googled this and it says this." Like, no, that they're the expert on it. I would default to them before I would start shooting them on the side, saying, "No, not this. No, not this." That's kind of what I mean by that.
Okay. So for example, there's an issue that I've read a few articles about lately. Uh, Artificial intelligence in schools. Like, what do you think? Like, how it's new, it's evolving, people are starting to use it for all kinds of things. Some might say cheating, some might say that's part of education to learn how to use new tools. And how do teachers sort of face that issue? How do they grade? How do they know if kids are actually gaining the knowledge? And that changes over time, right? From
Oh
a
yeah.
elementary up to high school and through college. So do you think Olympia needs some kind of an AI policy? And how would you go about sort of getting everybody on board with that?
I think we're moving to that. I mean, it's going to take more study on what the right way to go about it is. I've seen some schools have implemented for like essays and stuff only handwritten and or just in the time period in class. It's going to be a very difficult area because yeah, how do you remove the technology from someone because they might abuse it to in the way that they're not learning, but also they need to know how to use it. It's going to be a difficult path forward on that, and I would again probably default to experts and listen to more advice on that because I don't know everything about it. I do work for a tech company, but they don't have their own AI, and their policy is I don't use it. So
Mm.
I haven't toyed with it any more than on the side looking at it. So it's probably not my area of expertise right now. So
Uh, as a so like I just lost my train of thought. Okay. It was something about being, I was thinking about the budget again and how comfortable you are in, because I think they do like a 1 year sort of budget and a 3 year kind
mhm.
of budget, trying to maintain a healthy fund balance in there. And with the threats from the federal government and kind of not really knowing what's going on, like, do you know where you are on your risk scale with regard to how much you want to save off in reserves and or um, what kind of principles you would have in place? Like, what would be your criteria for, okay, this seems like a situation when it'd be okay to hit the reserve a little bit, use our rainy day fund a little bit versus no, this is not enough of that situation and we have to go for sort of a deeper, longer fix.
I mean, the current federal climate is terrifying. So I would lean towards keeping more in reserve because we don't know if federal funding will just disappear at the drop of a hat, and that does give me a lot of concern. So, or from a knee-jerk response, without being able to look at all the data in detail, I would lean towards more keeping reserve because it's very possible that we could have a lot of bad action from the federal government coming in that would just completely destroy the budget we're working on right now. Like
Mhm.
that uncertainty, it keeps me up at night.
And yet you still want to be on the school board.
I mean, doing hard things is important even if they're difficult. So,
Okay. Um, were your kids in school during the pandemic or
oh,
are
they were not. No, they're 4 and 6. So one's in preschool, one's graduating kindergarten. So,
do you have any thoughts about sort of the loss of material or loss of socialization or the kids who were in school during the pandemic and if they need if there's additional supports that the schools maybe should try and do for them? Not that we can ever buy back lost time, but do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, that's definitely one of the things that I've nestled under empowering educators because it is definitely a steep curve they have to combat is all of the social emotional skills that were lost or not developed during the pandemic. And it's definitely something that I would back up educators on what they need for that. But as to something specific, I do not know right now. But I'm learning every day, and maybe I'll have a better answer tomorrow.
Well, you have several candidate forums coming up. So you've got a League of Women Voters and an OSD for All.
Yep.
And you're going to get a lot of practice at this. And then
Yay.
you'll be one of the people on the Zoom that other parents are watching.
That's not terrifying at all.
Okay, I know I have like other things, but I am not getting, oh yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about you were in the army and you
That's
were like
correct. Yeah.
a data analyst in the army for a
I
while.
was intelligence analyst.
How much do you think that plays into sort of the way you approach things and uh like the ideas you have about collaborating and inclusivity and are any of those things that you learned in the army, or are they more things that you kind of had your whole life, like from your parents and all of your upbringing and stuff? Like,
And it's all part of growing up. I was also a military brat, so I moved around a lot growing up. And the diversity of military families really shaped what I viewed as a normal part of America, which has just made it more, uh, I'm lost for word, just disturbing that diversity is under attack. Like I find that as the fundamental value of what makes America America. And that even having that as a question, do you support DEI? Do you support equity? Do you support diversity? It's insane to me that we've gotten to this point that that could be controversial or something that needs to be said so repeatedly. And I'm okay with saying it repeatedly because apparently it wasn't said enough. And now we're to a point where we're defending it from the back foot instead of the front foot. And that concerns me greatly.
Is that something that you're trying to expose your kids to? Not that they're not military brats, so you're not picking them up and moving them around different countries and different states every few years. But how are you managing to make sure that they get sort of perspective and that into their lives? When
I mean, we have, no, sorry.
we might not live in the most diverse community.
Oh, we're not that isolated as well. We travel a lot. We try and take them to places where they can experience more diversity. And I still get to piggyback off my brother's still in the Air Force, and we visit him when he PCSs. And so this summer, which is interrupting my campaigning a little bit, we're going to visit them. He's stationed in Okinawa, so we're going to go visit Japan for a week and a half, which unfortunately we booked before I was running and is right in the middle of July, which is not the most convenient, but it is what it is. I get to visit my young nephew, and the girls get to see their cousin for the first time. So it's unskippable
That's nice.
and another massive cultural experience to go to a foreign country.
Hmm. Yep. So how do you, I'm gonna jump to a different question that I remembered I wanted to ask. Uh, your kids, I think you wrote, are in McLean. And so have you been talking to parents with kids in other schools throughout Olympia and sort of getting a sense for, oh, your school has this program, my school doesn't have that program. And I know in your questionnaire, you were very firm about equity doesn't mean everybody having exactly the same thing. It means they have
Mhm.
what they need. So like, how do you feel in general about the mix of Olympia schools? And I know, you also referenced and mentioned the school closure possibility, in the questionnaire and a little earlier. People they're very tied to their schools. And how do you just in general feel about, little schools versus big schools versus neighborhood schools versus I live across the street from a school with an options program, like just that whole mix.
I mean, that's I've starting from the beginning of that. I've been trying to meet more people on the east side. That's one of the problems I know that I've had is that we have small kids who live on the west side. Our community is fairly small at this age. I have some friends that are going to LP Brown, and I've tried meeting with more people on the east side. I've met with some of the folks from OSD for All and had a long conversation with them about it. And yeah, I mean, there's different issues for different schools, and I'm still trying to learn more about it. And that's one of the things I plan on working on for the foreseeable future is engaging more with people outside of my immediate vicinity and seeing what issues they see in their schools. I
But
mean, nobody wants to close schools for closing schools, and that's what I feel like one of the communication misses last year was it felt like a surprise and they were blindsided. And that's why one of my key points is collaboration and communication. I want to make sure everyone's informed and any decision, if we ever have to close schools, is involved with the community and no one's surprised by it or feels like they're being singled out or that it was a knee-jerk response because it's not a small decision. It's not a light decision. So it needs to be a very involved process.
do you think there'd have to be some kind of multi-year runway toward it, or well, you don't know. You haven't looked at the budget
Yeah,
data, how bad
I
this.
would have to look at the data and then also develop metrics to see which school it would be. I know they had a short process last year about it, but I mean, change is constant. So eventually going to have to look at this again. And even if we do or do not close schools, it's going to always be a lingering question that we're going to have to ask. And so the sooner we establish, say, like a 2 or 3 year policy on how we have to do it, the more comfort that would give the parents in schools that they think they might close. Because right now, I know plenty of parents on the east side are concerned that they still don't know if their schools are going to close next year because they're still doing the budget talks. And that's not a great way to live. So one of the things I would do if I was on the board is establish a longer term procedure on that. So no one's worried about next year. Sure, it might happen in 2 years. It would be discussion and everyone would be aware of it, but we don't want parents sitting on the edge of their seats like, I don't know where my kid is going to school next year
Hmm.
in June. Like it's not a fun place for anyone to be.
Hmm. Okay. I think we're almost at the end. You made it. It's almost a half an hour, so I'm giving you the last few minutes. What were things that you thought or worried I was going to ask you that I didn't, or things that you really wanted to say that I didn't, my questions did not give you a chance to say that you feel strongly about, or, do you have anything like that? Or
So this is the part that terrifies me. I don't know what I have for that.
no, you're free range now. You have to do it. It's
I mean, I appreciate you taking the time to interview me, and I think I've said everything about what I believe and what I think is important, and how I would be a director on the school board and what I would focus on. I mean, I stand with diversity, equity, and inclusion is an important part of America, and I find it insane that that could even be viewed as a controversial opinion in this day and age, or that it has to be said so upfront. But it is. It's what made us great. It's what makes us great, and I find it crazy that that's what's being targeted. And I'm willing to go to bat for that, despite what the other side and what happens at federal levels. So
Okay.
again, thank you for your time.
Well, I want to thank you for being part of our process, returning the questionnaire, answering some of your answers were really fabulous, and you did pretty well on the interview, I think. And
Oh, thank you.
I think you're gonna pick it up and progress through your campaign just fine. And I want to thank you for running because that's like an act of bravery right there, and it's an act of hope for the future. And you're a busy guy, and I just very much want to thank you for running.
Well, thank you, and thank you too, John, for listening in the background and
Yeah,
hiding out
and
there.
I echo what Mary has to say. Thanks for standing up.
Thank you.
All right, now get back out there to the sunshine and hang out with
Yeah.
the kids and family.
Yeah, the kids are probably playing with the chickens. We're building a coop, so they've been out in the yard with the chickens for the last couple of weeks, and they're
Oh,
probably
fun,
enjoying the
Uh,
warm weather out there without me.
fun. Okay, thank you
bye.
for this.
Thank you.
Bye.